So today I'm going to show you my palette, how I set my colours up, what colours I have in my palette, and what colours I recommend if you're a beginner. Coming up. Hello, welcome back to SLUGA channel, where we do all things watercolour related. If this is your first visit, I'm Charles. Check out the channel, consider subscribing. Remember to hit that little bell so you don't miss out on any of the content that I have on this channel, because I want to help you and everyone else live, love and do watercolours. Before we get into it, I just want to say big thanks to my subscribers. I've only made 10 videos, early days. At the time of making this video, I have 250 subscribers, or as I like to say, 250. I know that's nothing compared to people out there that have got 250,000 subscribers, but I do appreciate my 250. And of course I want more. That's why I ask you to share it, because the more, the merrier. Anyway, I do appreciate it. Thanks for watching. So let's get into the video. This is going to be a two-part video. First part today, part two in a couple of weeks. I'm going to introduce you to my palette and how I've set out my palette and what colours I've got and what colours I would suggest, and I do suggest, to any beginners that come to me. In the next video, part two, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to go through my colours in a little bit more detail, show you what they can do and explain why I have them in my palette. So there's plenty of ways you can set out your palette. I set up my palette to follow kind of the colour wheel. It goes from your blues to your greens to your yellows, earth colours whacked in there in the middle, and then reds. But you don't have to organise it like that. Some people organise their palette by working out which are their darkest colours right across to their lightest colours. And they organise their palette according to darks. It's a tonal palette really, tonal or value palette. From darks right across to lights. You can do it that way. Others set out their palette in the sense of all the cool colours together and all the warm colours together. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks, cool, warm, that kind of stuff. Some people just have random stuff all over the place. I like there to be some kind of logic to it. If you're learning about colour theory, it's nice to have your palette set out like a colour wheel, because everything kind of combines, makes sense, and you're not struggling trying to create a relationship between how your palette's set out and your colour theory. But what I would suggest very strongly is, however you set out your palette, you set it out the same every single time. Why? Because you don't want to be hunting for colours. Oh, where have I put the cobalt blue? I don't know. You can't waste that time. You just want to be able to reach for that colour straight away. Keep them in the same spot, whatever process, whatever order, whatever system you use. Let's just go for a walk around my palette. Come on, let's go. Let's quickly go through them. Are you ready? Starting with dioxazine violet, French ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, Prussian blue, Othello blue, or Windsor blue green shade is what I'm using at the moment. Windsor green blue shade, Othello green or Viridian. I've made a video about why I've got that green in my palette. Put a little link up here or link in the description if you want to check that out. My other green, cobalt turquoise light. Then we come over to cad yellow light, and then Indian yellow or cad yellow deep, and then raw sienna, which I use a bucket load of, raw umber, burnt sienna. And then across here we've got cad red, pernalism crimson, and in the middle sometimes I put Windsor red, not so often. And then down here I've got my spare little space that I like to call the spots for visitors. Colours that I put into my palette occasionally, and I'll talk about those in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go into a lot more depth as far as my colours are concerned. Did you like that hand movement?
It was very, very good.
Karate. I group them in families and I follow the colour wheel. As you see, violets and blues, one family, greens are all together, yellows are all together, earth colours are all together, reds are all together. So, family. Never forget the family of your colours. Really, really important. And that was pathetic.
And that I do not forgive.
Which brings me to another point, just answering a very quick question that a few people have asked me. Why do I always have clips of movies in my watercolour videos? Well, two reasons really. One is that I love movies. I'm a movie buff, and I'm kind of pretty sure if I wasn't a painter, I might have gone into filmmaking. Maybe that'll be my encore career, I don't know. Not the acting bit, obviously. The directing, the filming, cinematography, I don't know, something to do with film. Secondly is that I find them useful. They're good to use as but that's hard to say. They're good to use as an analogy. They are good to use as an analogy. Whew. Try it, tongue twister. And even though this isn't a watercolour question, I know, I'm supposed to be sticking to watercolour. Tell me what your favourite film is in the comments below, and maybe just for a bit of fun, I might be able to incorporate a clip from your favourite movie in one of my videos about watercolour. Weird. Now be aware that when you buy your colours, depending on the brand, they're going to vary so much. Don't get too caught up in this just yet. Down the track a bit, but just yet, don't worry too much about it. It's the differences that count. Let me show you an example of what I mean by that. This is raw umber in 4 different brands. Look at the difference. Just don't think because you've bought a colour in a different brand and it's got the same name that it's the same colour. Now, if you're a beginner, do you want these 15, 16 colours? I can't even remember how many there are, but 15 or 16 colours? You don't need to start with that many, and I probably suggest that you don't. But what should you start with? Well, I would suggest that you start with 2 blues, 2 yellows, 2 reds. Why? Because it gives you a good range of possibilities as far as mixing goes. I would suggest that you have a warm and a cool of each. Now, I would suggest that you get ultramarine blue and Prussian blue. For your yellows, I suggest that you get a lemon yellow or a cad yellow light. Lemon yellow if you want to save some money, and cad yellow deep or Indian yellow or gamboge or something like that. So the cool and warm yellow. And then for the reds, the cad red, or you can get scarlet red or something similar. An orangey kind of red if you want to save money and not get cadmium colours. And permanent alizarin crimson. Some people like to get rose madder. That's nice, but I just think that permanent alizarin crimson has got more versatility. That's what I suggest you get first. Then if you're going to add to it, the next colours that I would suggest that you get would be the Viridian or the phthalo green. I would suggest burnt sienna, and I would suggest raw sienna. So having those 6 plus those other 3, you've got 9 colours. 9 colours. Gives you a good range, good power. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If for no other reason, just to see how I set up my palette, just out of curiosity, just to satisfy your curiosity. If you were curious about it, I don't know whether you were, but if you're here and you're watching it and you've got to this stage, well, I'm presuming you were. Remember to come back in a couple of weeks or subscribe. Remember to hit that little bell so you get the little reminder in a couple of weeks that I'm doing part 2 of this video where we go into more depth. Also remember to let me know what your favourite film is so I can see whether I can incorporate those into my watercolour videos. I do not know how yet, but there's a little challenge for me. Movie, watercolour. I don't know, there could be a link there somewhere. Have a great couple of weeks. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And peace. Don't know why I did that. That's kind of a bit hippie-ish, isn't it? Kind of, hey.